I think we made it. Did it work? Are we on? Are there people here? I have no idea. It has been a day. So we will see what works and what doesn't. Hopefully it works. Hopefully we're here. Hopefully I'm here, you're here, we're all here. Hello. Sorry for the late start. Computer had to do a restart, all kinds of stuff. The interesting thing of the weekend was changing my own battery. That was fun. I've never done that before. It was not fun. It was stressful. I'm not a computer guy, not a hardware guy, but here we are. Computer's on. I think you can see me. So if you can hear me, throw me a comment or whatever and just let me know. All right. This is the completed page 16 of Undersea Hero. That's where we're at so far. This introduces KRAKUS has just won his craps game. He is getting his chips, and then Poseidon walks up. What we have here is Poseidon over here, just being like, KRAKUS, good job at the game. And then what he wants to do, like all good casino owners, is keep him gambling. So, he has the pretty ladies trying to entice him to keep rolling the dice. And then he's like, join us, see what the great things that our casino has to offer. And he's sort of mulling it over here. This is our page right here. This is our layout. And he's like, I do love gambling and casinos. Well, vice in general, really. I do feel like I should get UH's empty wallet back, that he stole earlier, that prompted this trip to the casino and everything. And he says, Poseidon says, but champion, you'll miss the free buffet. And KRAKUS says, are those short ribs? Poseidon says, oh yes, and it's sweet. The stuff dreams are made of in a warm demi-glace. And then, they just get back to gambling. But that's our page. And that's pretty much the update. Things have been tough. I've been trying to finalize my taxes for the year, get those done this weekend. Finding expenses from going to a zillion different conventions last year. So making sure I had all my receipts and everything in order, sent those over to the accountant. So, but I'm going to start down here because I really like this panel and I've started to lay it out while I was waiting on the computer to do stuff. So right here we have KRAKUS holding onto his chips and Poseidon trying to describe the short ribs at the free buffet. So, trying to keep it a little loose so that there's some bounce to the line and cartooning, We got our eraser. I just use a 0.5 HB and then also a non-photo blue. So inexpensive materials at this point. No AI here. No, sir. All those mistakes are mine. Just want to make sure that the chat is working. Yes. Okay, cool. Hey, Uncle Bill. Good to see you. Thank you. We're just kind of getting started on this page, so we start always start somewhere. I did do the ice jump a couple weeks ago. I just haven't had time to put the film together. The water was um, 41 degrees, I believe. So it was plenty cold out. I believe you will have gotten your money's worth when I put that video out there for you. We can all enjoy my misery in the cold. So, no, I'm not a gambler. So, my enjoyment of making fun of casinos is purely from having been to a handful and not been a big gambler. So, and the movies, what you see on TV. Um, my chair is sinking. It's just the next thing I needed was to have my chair stop working. That would be great. Be a good capper to the day. Believe it or not, I have my 100-day review at the steamship coming up. Working at the art department there. We were working on some cool stuff. Hopefully they'll start announcing some of it. It's some of the deadlines are looming, so got to imagine that we'll start mentioning some things that I've been working on. All hush hush, top secret. Oh, thank you. Bill says it's for a good cause. My non-enjoyment of the cold. Um, so I haven't had my head poked into the comics discourse online as much lately, but the minute I poke my head in, something I had commented on an earlier stream seemed to be a topic of much discussion, and that was the art contest being put on by the one of the founders of Image, Todd McFarlane, and my general distaste for art contests of that sort. Um, apparently, someone used AI to produce one of the works that was selected for publication for winning the contest, and people are not pleased. So I've spoken on AI art on this channel many times, my distaste for it. It's not really AI. I think that that's a misnomer. That's a marketing tactic. It's a prompt-based image generator that remaps keywords from a database that is stolen from other artists that actually drew the things. And you can find out if they used your work to train the AI program, as they call it. Um, I do. I think my chair broke. I guess we'll find out. And then a foot cramp. Cool. Things are going well. I guess we'll try to draw with a foot cramp. Enjoying that. That's cool. There we go. Chair's working. But anyway, let's by and large. I've stayed out of most of the discourse online, but on here, because, you get the full context, I don't have a problem addressing some of these sorts of topics and affecting the industry that I am a part of. There are rumblings that I might be at San Diego this year. We don't know for sure. I had a phone call discussing that matter the other day with a publisher. So, but, keep an eye on my page. I'll let you guys know. I don't know when I will know either. That's the other thing. When you're potentially a guest of someone else at a show, I'm kind of at the mercy of their schedule. So, hey Chad, how's it going? Yes, it has been a busy stretch here. So, I have been dealing with taxes, dealing with normal life stuff, dealing with job stuff, work stuff, all sorts of stuff. But it was nice yesterday. So, and since daylight savings time means I'm not driving home in the dark, I got to go for a jog yesterday, which was a really good way to reduce some stress. I'm not like a competitive runner or anything. I just go for, a jog for a few miles. Hey, Michael, you have to restart. I just did that. I just went through that. So I'm assuming your computer is more reliable. So, but I still wish you good luck. But good to see you, Chad. Thanks for always popping in. Um, Sorry I was on a few minutes late. Had some technical issues trying to get the computer going. I am going to have to buy a new computer this year, so it served me well. This laptop has served me well, so I will probably be in the market. Hopefully it'll last a little longer. If I can get this one to last until the fall, that would be great. See, my version of Poseidon, I don't want him to be like ripped. I want him to be like, kind of like an ex football player where he's got like a little bit of a gut, but he's got like mass. He's not cut or anything. So we got to give him a little bit of a belly. His arms are not like, they're big, but they're not sharp. They've got a softness to them. But even when you don't have a lot of muscle, like even on my arms that are kind of sinewy, you can still see what's under the skin in some places when it's close to the bone. So, and I know it's just a silly cartoon, but these are all the sorts of things that I think about to try to make it believable. You know? I don't need realism, but I do need believability. I feel like some people really want realism in their comics, but I just never gravitated towards that type of comic. I liked my superheroes to be on the silly side, or at least the exaggerated side. Like, even as I get older, there are certain characters I like even more. Like, I was not a big Plastic Man guy in my youth, but now I'm just fascinated by the Jack Cole artwork and what his character became. Even the Joe Staton stuff from like the early '80s is fascinating. Joe Staton and Bob Smith did a Plastic Man serial in Adventure Comics at the same time that Dick Giordano was doing Aquaman, and Steve Ditko was doing Starman. So that was a fun era of comics if you're ever looking for something that's not expensive that maybe you haven't checked out yet. And they're all anthologies, so like you get at least two stories, sometimes three stories in each issue. There's a couple of really beautiful Brian Bolland covers in that run. Figuring out Krakus's expressions is actually one of my favorite things to draw. Gotta move the spray fixative because I gotta move this up so you can see it better and I can see it better. This is actually probably my favorite angle of trying a new angle of the camera, and it's actually in a place where it's actually okay to draw. I'm not like bending my neck around the camera because I don't have one of those arms. I just have a tripod that's like next to my desk that bends over it. Oh, Poseidon, yeah, yeah. He's the host at the casino. You know, this is the last panel at the casino until we come back for the big musical number later. And I'm really proud of the layouts of the musical number. You don't get enough song and dance routines in a comic book, and I'll be interested to see how people read it. Um, I had hoped to hire someone to record the song, but I just did not. Like the Kickstarter did very well, and I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but it was not enough to, pay for music mixing and musicians and things like that. So maybe in the future we can do that, but I do believe I can mention the name of the tune that it's parodying that they're singing. So at least people might be able to tell like what to hum along to, as they're working on it or as they're reading it. And our light source is going to be up and to the left, so we're going to be able to put a nice cast shadow on this side of everything. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a nice frame. Now, because the back here is going to be all black, we can't put too much of a cast on him. So we might actually have to pull this up a little bit. There we go. Go like that. Because if we have just a little bit of white space there, we can have a little bit more shadow framing on the little shoulder part there. Lately, I've actually been quite enjoying drawing hands. It's been a nice thought exercise, just the way the different pieces work together. So, where's my prelim so I can refer back to it? There's my prelim. Really loose. I must have done this prelim pretty late because a lot of my prelims are really tight. Hey, Desiree. Good to see you. I almost didn't make it myself. I was late getting started, so don't you worry. Drawing interesting looking stacks of chips has been an interesting challenge in keeping the scale of them at least kind of close. Oh, presentation. Yeah. You doing like a multimedia PowerPoint presentation, or you got some fancy schmancy thing with your fancy schmancy media tools? Undersea Hero's wallet has been a prop since like the beginning of page one, so I'm hoping people notice it. You know, he calls it out by name in this panel. PowerPoint. Hey, coffee and snacks at Desiree's presentation, everyone. I'm sure the RSVPs will go out momentarily. The other thing you'll notice in each panel, like Krakus is dropping a few chips like every panel. There'll be a couple here. I changed this panel because it didn't make sense to have him in that panel, even though there's a 3-panel progression and then a call out, so it wasn't like a 4-panel progression. I actually did look up some video of how chips fall, like poker chips, just so that I could be more familiar with the movement of them. I used to play cards with my grandma, and we would play with chips, even though there wasn't any money involved. Um, but that had been many years. She passed away a long time ago, but we would sit at the dining room table and play cards in the morning or in the evening. Not during Jeopardy though. Could not play cards or games during Jeopardy. Or when I was a kid, Peter Jennings. That was the newscaster of choice of that particular grandmother. Michael says he still working on the story, but he just ordered a bunch of heavy stock A4 deleter paper to work on for the next book in traditional. It should be the right size to sit in my scanner. That's great. Some of the deleter paper can be a little light, even when they say it's like heavy duty. But for just pen and ink, it should be fine. You know, especially if you're not using a crow quill. That would be the only tool that I would think would be an issue with their paper. I bought some myself when I was really messing around with the Zipatone, which I still have to finish scanning that big stack I bought of the vintage stock. Michael says he wants to print the story in a series of A5 size books and then collect them in the end. Well, that's an excellent goal. You're prolific. I'm sure you'll get it. I'm sure you'll get those in the can, as they say. In the Can was actually the name of a cartoon strip I did in college. It was about people who wanted to make a movie. And I was poking fun at silly comic book movies even back in, years and years ago. Desiree was also a fan of Peter Jennings, it seems. Yep, that was Phyllis's favorite news anchor, much more than Tom Brokaw. In a post-Cronkite world, she chose Peter Jennings. Michael says that's a clever name for a comic strip. I was but a young lad. I don't know if it was that original, but it worked for what it was. Um, and I made some kind of like Undersea Hero, made dumb jokes. Um, I definitely did not serve my audience of uh, college readers with anything other than like the really base level humor stuff in it. But people seem to enjoy it. I don't know. They used to I used to tack it up on my door of my dorm when the new one was done. My room became a stop on the tour one year when I was in my junior year, because I was doing an oil painting class, and they would bring it by because I would hang up the finished canvases in my room, and they'd be like, "Check out this dorm room. Definitely just like the other dorm rooms." Got to get Poseidon's big pinky ring. Yep. He's got one on each hand. Pinky rings. If I'm inking myself, if this wasn't on a stream, I wouldn't put any pencil in this area. It just dirties it up, but it'll. I think it'll help you guys see the more of what the final product would be, rather than just putting X's like I usually do before I ink it. Because when I'm inking it and I have a big black area, it's actually easier to just leave it blank. I did show the other page that I got finished earlier in the stream. If anybody's just popping in, I noticed a handful of people just come in to the stream. If you're here just for the Undersea Hero Kickstarter recap, the page I finished, I posted earlier, so you can rewind and check it out, or you can stick around till the end and I'll show it again. But I like to try to reset. If people are here just for that, they can hit it up and get back to, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. 8:30. I don't even know what's on TV on 8:30 anymore. It used to be like one of those time slots that people knew what was on TV. But you can see KRAKUS is dropping all kinds of chips, but he's still got a whole bunch. I do put a little bit of arm hair on Poseidon. One artist that used to do that was John Byrne. He would give characters body hair. Survivor, Not Dead Yet. I like Abbott Elementary. I've seen a few episodes of that one. It's a pretty good show. We've got a 3-panel progression that we'll get to work on, where we have like a mega close-up of KRAKUS looking at the viewer and then looking off to the side, kind of deflecting, and then doing a, yeah, really, I like gambling. Hey, Dennis. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to Northeast, but I'm sure you and Joe and everybody had a rip-roaring time. I'll see you in Fall River, though, at the show over there. Joe's always a good guy to hang out with at those shows. I'm actually gonna get the blue pencil back because I barely just knocked out like what the space was, like just where the space it would be occupying. So we'll get our blue pencil here. Hopefully the conventions can take it out of you. I mean, there's this expectation that you're just there to goof off, but I'm hoping at future shows I can do more of that. You know, doing your taxes as an artist is generally for my sake. I did. Not going to complain. I did pretty well, but there's a reason I had to go and get basically I had to go get another day job. Comics, man. Oh, nice. You get some good stuff. Did you new comics? Did you buy old comics? Are you a fan of graded comics? Like, what kind of comics are we talking here? What is on the Dennis Dietrich? Creative. It's just not doing just comics. Like, I'm doing illustration, graphic design, all kinds of stuff. So still being creative every day. Just the comic book business is very small. What I like to do is fill it out as though I'm going to draw the whole thing. And it lets me get the proportionality correct. You're not going to see the bottom half of him because his arms are going to be in front of him, holding up the chips. Jetta Ray sidekicked megahertz. I know that's a Joe one. Murder Most Mundane. Joe's artwork, Planet of the Symbiotes. Yeah, I'm gonna be at that Little Giant show up in New Hampshire. I guess they're getting like tons of the people who worked on like the symbiote comics in the '90s. David Michelinie's gonna be there. He's written tons of comics. I think the big name that's gonna be there is Bagley, Mark Bagley. I don't think he'd been at that show, and I hadn't seen. I had met Bagley at Boston Comic Con many many moons ago. The original Boston Comic Con. He was there one year. He did the poster artwork. I think it was the year it was postponed because of the Boston Marathon stuff. I think that was the year he was there. Michael asked, "Do you use an Ames guide for lettering, and should I learn how to use an Ames guide for lettering my books? I was thinking about avoiding digital lettering fonts for the next book." I will use the measurements from an Ames guide, but I'm not using it on every slant. I've really internalized like what I need from that for the results that I want. And I for my graphic design background, my typography is pretty strong. So um, Dennis, yeah, that one is in Concord, and yes, that person will be there, to my knowledge. I've met Jim a number of times, so probably just leave it at that. Oh, look, we got a nice, got some spam in the chat. Someone trying to sell me on pumping up my numbers on my Twitch channel. Um, Not something I'm inclined to spend money on. Gotta shrink this chip again. It's a little too big for the shot. There we go. Jeff Klein, yes, yes, of formerly of Darby Pop or currently of Darby Pop. They used to be involved with IDW, but I don't know what the status of his publishing empire currently is. I met Jeff at New York Comic Con when I was really first getting started in the business, not just as a like fan artist or whatever, or self-published. And I sat down with his art director at the time, and he gave me a good review, gave me some good pointers. It was a thorough, took his time, so it was good. He sent me a script for some um, like Cinderella type story at one point that he was working on, or I don't know, fairy tale. And yeah, I don't know if another artist ever finished it or did that, but I had to pass on that one. Nothing to do with the script, just had to do with scheduling or any that kind of stuff. And also, like, it was a huge project, huge project. I just did not have the capacity to do such a big project at that time. Because I think at the time I was running a print shop. If I'm remembering my timelines correctly. This would have been probably 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. But yeah, Jeff was always nice. But yeah, they used to publish through IDW. Darby Pop did for a spell. I don't know how long that lasted. They put out like a Bruce Lee book. They put out a book that I bought, Doberman or something. It was a like a police comedy. Yeah. Trust me, everyone in the area, as far as comic book people know, it's such a small industry. We all know each other. We've all met each other. Um, There are very few mysteries in that department. Yeah, if you want to. Still figuring out my plan for shows this year. Actually, kind of depends on my tax bill, which, according to my numbers, isn't too bad. And I have to, like I said, it's been sent to the tax people or the accountant for them to go over all of my math and make sure I don't mess anything up. Like I said, my dream convention scenario is I can show up with a banner, a stack of paper, and my art supplies, and that's pretty much it. Stuff dreams are made of. You believe it's Wednesday? I cannot. This week just melted. Just melted right off the calendar. Right now, I'm just roughing out about where the edge of Krakus's carapace is. Should be what would the equivalent be of his chin would be somewhere down here. And then I think from this angle we'll have like something like this. Hey, thanks so much, Dennis. I will catch you later. Just gotta grab a seat because I am tired. All right. Got his little side tube that sticks out of the side of his head there. Does Poseidon have gills? I don't know. I don't know. I assume that because he's Poseidon, he just does whatever he pleases. If he's like, I want to have gills, they just happen. Much like a Q type character of mischief, but generally centralized at the casino. I think of that episode of Next Gen of John Delancey in the mariachi suit on the bridge. People have asked if the other people have gills. Some do, some don't. Is the best way I can put it. There is a thing that regular people can take that makes it so that they can breathe underwater while they're gambling. So if like regular people want to go to the undersea casino, they can go, and he can take their money too. I generally feel it's. Have you ever seen? I'm sure you've seen the Mars Attacks film where Jack Nicholson's character is like trying to get the aliens to go to his casino. Now, Poseidon is not that character, but like the strategy of trying to take intergalactic money, I think would be a universal truth of casino ownership if um, aliens did exist. Yeah, in some cases I explain stuff, in some cases I don't. Because I always find too much explanation to make comics boring. And I try to, like, that little factoid that I gave you there will be addressed, in plot. It won't just be like, here, take two of these. New print, little, yellow, different. Exactly, yes. Yes. Please leave the death ray in your parked spaceship. Take it out into the desert and shoot at some antique cans, just like on The Simpsons, just like Marge did. Precious antique cans. Actually, I think I was originally planning on having this here, but I'm actually thinking I'm gonna drop that just because I don't think it's needed. Just constantly dropping chips, and then every now and again there'll be like a little plink, 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 plink of it hitting the ground. Because using sound effects, I think, is super important to the comic book experience. A very graphical um, approach to them in this book. Like one of the things about this page that was a challenge is like, how does a cuttlefish like emote while kind of having a conversation with themselves about like, hey, how do I struggle with the morality of this? I did steal a guy's wallet, but he's my friend, and I kind of want to bring it back to him. It's empty now, but I'll bring the wallet back. Is the level of friendship we're talking about here? Maybe down here would be better for like the extra arm. That way we could have some of the suction cups showing. Yeah, that would be better. I think we should have two down here now that I'm looking at it, because he's got so many arms. you got 8 arms to factor in on these panels, so it is already 9 o'clock, my word. We started a little late, so we'll go a little longer. Although I could definitely use the sleep because my cat has decided to wake me up at 4 in the morning. Bruce was like, "Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, hey, hey." Then I got up. I looked at the clock and I was seeing how far away I was from when I had to get up. It was far enough away to where I looked at the clock and I was like, "Okay, I'll get up and feed him, come back to bed. He can then, I can then get like another hour of sleep." No, no, no. Bruce was then bored, wanted to play at like 4 in the morning. So had a few new people pop into the stream. Welcome aboard. Just go like this. I always try to have at least one arm where the suction cups are like out so you can see them. I just think it's important. This is coming up like this. Suction cups will be down here like this. And I generally draw the structure of those in ink. I don't usually spend a lot of time in pencil. You can see they're really just like pieces of circles right now. Desiree says my furry little a-hole Emmett tried getting me up at 2:50 a.m. to feed him. That doesn't even make sense with the time change because I don't feed them until 4:30. Yeah, I don't know. Is it a full moon? Is that why the cats are like, hey, hey, I'm bored? Is it a cat holiday that I am not aware of? Which I bet the internet could answer that question for me. That panel that you described may happen. I do think it has to be reserved for like a very special moment. So um, I'm trying to save that for a really good thing. Here's where we get to draw the full figure Lord Krakus instead of him being like partly cut off. I feel like there could be a holiday that I'm missing, a cat holiday. Look, I love cats. I'm just at times perplexed by the decisions that they make. And Bruce is not a genius. He is not one of these problem-solving cats like Penny was. Penny was a problem-solving smart cat, which was the annoying thing about Penny. Like one of the more annoying things, because a dumb cat, you can usually see. Now I remember why I did this. I have to put that there. I have to go up like this, and then actually have him touching his head like he's thinking. And you have to have the suction cups showing like that. Have it come back down, shaped like that. See, then goes, like the one. See? Down and then up. There was motion, there was plan here for movement. You would like to be a Krakus casino? I mean, I could definitely put you in the crowd during the musical number. There's a couple of good crowd shots in there I could put you in. Would you want your fancy blue hair? I could put your fancy blue hair in there too. Sure, why not? Let's have fun with it. And then plus it gives me one fewer character I gotta design in the background. Sure, yeah. At the Marina and Eel concert at the Undersea Casino. Sure, that we can do. Your likeness then becomes the property of Fat Cat Funny's Entertainment. I'm kidding. Although I do think since I'm referencing a real person that I'd have to put something to that effect in the indicia, because you have to put the not meant to, be looking like any person living or deceased, etc., etc. If you want to send reference, send reference. Otherwise, I'll just make it up. I'm not the best at likenesses. I actually turned down the last convention I did last year. Two conventions last year. Last two conventions. Where I had people asking me to draw them and their family as superheroes, and my first answer to that was is that there were two artists there who specialized in that. Like that's what they do. They go to conventions to draw people as superheroes, either in a comic book style or a caricature style, depending on which one you want. I could direct you to either one. And they were not pleased with that. You know, they were like, we'll pay whatever. And I was just like, I know you're not going to be happy with it. I'm going to be miserable drawing it. So I actually turned down both of those. But I did give them references. I was like, hey, these two people are great. Reach out to them. I do that, regularly for that sort of work. You know, I also do it when people ask for Transformers. I will point to like any number of artists at a show that love drawing giant robots. It's in a spotlight, as he should be. Oh, from Andrea, yeah, done Planet Comics, yeah. Terrific artist. Just terrific. Yeah, I would love to get a drawing from them. For my pals, I'll put my pals in because I know that they'll forgive me or make fun of me for time infinitum for however I drew them. There was a friend of my wife's who was a big fan of uh, husband was a big fan of the Tick or is. And I did a big again. It was another one of those where they wanted themselves in the drawing, um, but I was trying. It was earlier on in the relationship, and I was just trying to be cool. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll draw your person," and I think they liked it, but it's definitely a comic book version of that person. Oh, cool. Yeah, I would love to see it. They're a terrific artist. Another one of the artists that was discovered by Jeff McClellan for the States. I mean, obviously they had done work elsewhere. What does it look like when a cuttlefish is mulling over the morality of continuing to gamble with someone else's money? That's the question. That's the visual quandary that we're trying to solve here. And then we have the classic comic book cartoon joke of there's it's an empty wallet, so you got to have the little moths flying out. And if you picked up issue 0, you have seen Undersea Hero's wallet on the cover of that being held under Krakus's arm. Oh, thanks, Michael. The beauty of this page in particular is that because of how exaggerated some of the characters are, I can just churn through it, and I just have to, when I go back to ink it, there will be some tightening up here and there, but you know, Krakus is very malleable. I mean, it looks like I drew him because I drew him, but I think if someone else wanted to draw them, that he would be fairly easy to draw. Or forgiving is the word, forgiving. No, easy, but forgiving. There's some characters where they are not forgiving to draw. Like any transformer, I would say. We've been able to move pretty quick on this page because there's not much in the way of backgrounds because like I wanted it to be like a spotlight, you know, on Krakus. And like up here, if you remember from earlier in the page, we saw um, the backgrounds are the ceiling is this abstract texture with the circles, and then the background are these curtains, these like big heavy curtains. What we'll do here is we'll have the big heavy curtains, and then we'll drop the spot. We'll put a spotlight right around Krakus like this. And then this will be blacked out. This will be all blacked out. And then you have the curtains behind him. So, and then when he steps forward and he's like giving his soliloquy, that's something that was from old, again, using my English degree a little bit, old plays, when the character would step forward and into the spotlight and give the big soliloquy, big speech. I joke around that one of the best soliloquies in the history of cinema was actually from the Masters of the Universe film, and it's when Frank Langella actually is like addressing the planet as he's like becoming like super powered towards the end. Terrible movie, terrible. Very nostalgic though, from my era of childhood, and oh, thank you very much, Michael. See, my inks are what my old painting teacher would describe as juicy, just because the lines have so many different like uh, values and variations, and they're not smooth. I don't have a smooth line except for when I'm using a ruler, and like there'll be a hard edge, and you'll see the smoothness. But like everything else, even when I'm doing like a swift edge, there's still like a bit of a fuzz to it. And that's something no matter the tool, I've never been able to shake. And no matter how fast I ink it, no matter what, it's just a facet of my drawing. But here's our Undersea Hero wallet with the moths flying out. Maybe one more moth. Why not? You got to put the little dotted lines showing that they're flying out. Maybe we'll have even one that's already flown off of camera. And when I mentioned the sound effects, there'll be like a plink, plink, plink here, because the little all the chips are falling as he's talking. And again, is anybody going to notice that when they're reading it? I don't know. And this is a callback right here from like, 12 pages prior. I don't think people reading this are going to expect to have to flip back to earlier in the book, but that's what happens. And then we have Poseidon here giving the big sell job of like, you got to keep gambling, kid. You got to keep gambling. You got the hot hand. You can't stop now. I got to take my money back. This is one of those, I hate to call it this, but it's a time saver page, because there are some pages that have just taken me so long because of the backgrounds and the number of characters. Like they've just eaten into my time estimate. So I need some pages. I need a handful of pages like this in between that move the story along and move the drawing process along. I gotta fix Poseidon's eyes. They're bugging me. A little too buggy. There we go. When I'm just a little more close, it changes the expression completely. Just with that little subtle change with the eyes, having the eyelids come down just a hair. You can still have the emoting eyebrows. Where he's like, "Hey, hey, hey, can't walk away with a hot hand like that, throwing them dice." What we know as the readers, and what Poseidon at this point doesn't know, is that Krakus has the ability to manipulate the dice and make them do what he wants because he's got the 10 million suction cups. But yeah, that face is much better, a little bit calmer, a little more in control. And this hand is bothering me, but I think we can't forget the pinky rings. Poseidon has big, giant pinky rings, one on each hand. And honestly, I went very simple with a lot of the wardrobe. There's only a few that the character designs take a long time to draw. They're designed really for a minimalist uh, explanation of space. So like this texture, that's why he's got hair so that it doesn't, clash with some of the other spots. So that even if this were printed in black and white, you could still tell where all the breaks are. Let's see if we can rough out most of this page. So we got his hair coming down. Our light source in this case is actually where the viewer is. Gonna fix that expression. There we go. I think it's just because the fingers are too long. He's got kind of stubbier fingers, a little stubbier. Let's just cut those back a little bit. There we go. If anybody's ever seen my self portrait, they'll see that like I'm ruthless when it comes to my own hands. So fear not if you find my referring to Poseidon's fingers as being stubbier. I can promise you how I draw myself is miles worse. But I wanted to use some comic book language on this page to really give it movement, give it simplicity, give it some life. Um, I'm already looking down at this one, and I'm thinking about closing his eyes completely, like, "Fear not, my son." So like a Christ-like aura to him that he's trying to evoke there. We get to work on one of these other faces. I just enjoy drawing faces. All the cliches for this lady, the big eyelashes, the got the like twisty sideburns, like the little bit of hair that comes down there beside their ear. All the cliches. It's a self-aware usage of cliches, so I tried to have them dressed like the what do you call them? Uh, I can't even remember. Like the folks who could see claim they could see into the future in ancient Greece. Oracles, that's the word. Okay, there we go. Good job, brain. Good job. Get the cheekbone, and then you drop this down, and then this is where the front of the chin is. I've been working really hard on mine. Poseidon wants his money, um, and this lady wants some of it for sure. Yes, been working really hard on my skull structure because I felt like I was losing some of that edge. Because I like to be able to look at this and know that, the cheekbone is here. And then on this side, it would be right here. And then here's where it would come back up like that. And these lines won't be there, but this is just so that I know where the right lines need to be when I minimize the number of lines. I'm sure it's a giant wig. I don't know what her hair would actually look like. I was thinking about those showgirls, like the Las Vegas showgirls, but with like a Greek flair. But not the real one, like the old Hollywood bad Hercules movie stuff. Like that was, you know, Steve Reeves. But here we got our cheekbone, and then the jaw comes out like that. Hair wraps around the corner of the skull like that. Remembering everything that goes around is hard for me sometimes, so I really have to slow down and think, force myself to think about it. But yeah, how many cliches can we get on one page? The little moths flying out of the empty wallet. I mean, it's silly, it's fun. What shoulder strap was that lady? Left. Come across. Another thing I've been working on, this is going to sound strange, shoulders. Just the joints, getting the joints. It's where, where the hard structure meets the soft tissue, because there are places where there have to be hard lines in the anatomy, and that's I've just been trying to, whether it's the skull or the different parts, try to ensure like I'm getting them as right as I can, making sure that it's the best I can get it. There's Bruce yelling outside my door. He's like, "You're supposed to be done by now." I know. I started late. I'm sorry. Such a sad cry. Don't worry, Bruce. I'm going to wrap up shortly here. Hey, it's Brian Bollinger. Just popped in for a minute. We were watching you in the car on the way home from youth group. People will notice the little things like plinking of the poker chips. I love to reread the original Tick comics and see what I might have missed the first time. I think it'll be the same with Undersea Hero. Well, that's a huge compliment, Brian. Thank you so much. We both love the Edlin Tick comics, and it's true. It is one of those books that you. I mean, I won't project. I read it more than once and found new stuff in it when I reread it. I had read it several times when I was a young kid, but, like, when I reread it as a more seasoned creator when I was older, definitely found way more stuff. So thank you. That's a very high compliment. Oh, you heard Bruce? Yeah. Yeah, he's right outside the door giving us a good yell. Because of where the spotlight is, I'm wondering if we're gonna have to have a cast shadow. Like right here. It probably extends down here and then probably on the edge of it like this. And then there's like the rest of her. So we'll probably need a cast shadow like that. So we've made it to 9:30. I have to get up at the crack of dawn. So let's do a zoom out so you guys can see how far we came. Here's our high-tech hand crank zoom. Here's our top panel where he's being convinced to keep gambling, mulling over the moral quandary of continuing to gamble with someone else's money, wanting to give the empty wallet back. And then here's the last pitch, the short ribs at the free buffet. And here's one more shot of the page we finished last week, or this week. Here's the prelim. And yeah, thank you, Michael. You have a great week too. And good luck with the new paper. I hope it works out. And yeah, have a good night, everybody. Bye.